Hello and welcome to Paizo Live. My name is Aaron Shanks. I'm Paizo's marketing and media manager, and I'll be your host today for the next hour and a half or so as we talk about all things Pathfinder and Starfinder and the people behind them. Today we're going to focus on all the products that are releasing in the month of February, next week, on Wednesday, February 23rd. That's our street date. Here, this is one of my favorite days of the month. And so here's show and tell. Here's the stack of the February products that I'll play my best Vanna White as we go through the show and show off the physical products. We also have about, by my count, 5 PDF products that are releasing in addition to these print products. There's actually quite a stack to look forward to this month. So just to give you a layout of what we're doing today to talk about today's agenda, we're going to start, we're going to go back and forth between organized play several times throughout the course of the next hour and a half. Today is the final day of Mark Seifter working at Paizo. And as you may know, he is one of the designers behind Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and he's moving on to become a director of game design with another company. And of course, we wish him well. He's not going far, and but today's his last day with us, and so we're going to have a little internal after hours 5 o'clock party specifically for him. So that means some of my guests, we're going to talk to them and we're going to let them go so that they can go to the party. Today we'll talk to Linda Zayas-Palmer, the Organized Play Development Manager, about Organized Play and Pathfinder Society. And then we're going to go and talk to Jason Bullman. And we'll take a short break after we talk to Linda. And then we'll bring on Jason Bullman, and he'll talk about a little bit about accessories and how the design team interacts with accessories. But mostly we're going to move right along to some of the products that are coming up after February. We're going to talk about Book of the Dead and the Pathfinder board game that's coming out, Goblin Firework Fight. So that'll be fun. And then we'll take another short break. And then when we come back, we'll have Jessica Catalan and Alex Spidell from Organized Play. Jessica wears a lot of hats, folks. She is an author on some major products releasing this month and next month. So we're sort of saving her for the end of the show, the big finale, so that we can talk to her about all the things she's doing, and we'll touch base with Alex as well. So that's how the show is going to go. There'll be breaks along the way, and we'll be done in about an hour and a half. Little shorter than our normal Paizo Live, but for very good reason. So now I want to bring on our first guest, and as I said, that is Linda Zayas-Palmer. Linda, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me here, Aaron. Always good to be here.
Hello.
Talk about exciting products.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for joining us. Just to give all of our guests some 30,000-foot perspective, ever since the pandemic hit, Paizo employees have been working from home, and we do Paizo Live from our homes. That's where you've joined us. We're all comfy working from home, and so this is what it's created is a very casual opportunity to talk about the products that we all love and make. So I want to have Linda. Let's have you give everyone who might be new an understanding of what your title is, what you do, and what Organized Play is. Can you launch into that?
Yeah, of course. So I am one of the development managers at Paizo. That's kind of like a middle manager role, and mine is for the digital adventures team. So that is Organized Play, as well as other digital adventures like bounties and one-shots. And I'll be talking some about those today as well. As for what Organized Play is, it is a community of people who come together to play Pathfinder through Pathfinder Society or Starfinder through Starfinder Society. And there's sort of a shared experience of the world. So instead of having one GM who's running for one group and you're expecting, okay, we're going to keep playing these characters and through a long campaign. It's broken up into these short little scenarios, so you can come and go. You can say, hey, this adventure is written for like level 1 to 4 characters. So if I got a character that's in that level, great. I can sit down and play with people anywhere I want, whether that's, on my couch with friends, whether that's online, whether that's at a convention. So it's really great for people who are looking for ways to make connections in the community, as well as with people who love the games they do, as well as people who are looking for some flexibility in their schedules.
Yeah. Oh, organized play is such a gem. I mean, if you're new to the game, there are people to walk you through it. If you are having trouble finding a game, you can find people to play on a regular basis. If you know how to play the game, but you just are living a busy life, it's there for you too. That's really great. Thank you. So we're going to have you talk about what's going on in Pathfinder Society specific today. Pathfinder Society, we have 2 societies. One is Pathfinder, one is Starfinder. And what's going on in Starfinder Society? What's the plot of the year? And where are we with scenarios this month?
So you just asked Starfinder, but I'm going to talk about Pathfinder because Jenny.
I appreciate that.
Jessica's got Starfinder later in this one.
Indeed.
So in Pathfinder Society right now, we are in the year of Shattered Sanctuaries, and this is very much a year that takes a look a little closer to home with the Pathfinder Society. They had been in some recent years going and spreading their wings all over the place and exploring new areas, but then there started to be some problems at some of their oldest lodges where there's way too many mishaps for it to be a coincidence. So they are going back and figuring out what's going on in those places, whether it be, sudden undead attacks or like mysterious legal troubles. There's all sorts of hot water they're finding themselves in. And the reason for this particular image here for the year, if you played in Pathfinder First Edition, you may recognize these symbols of the original factions in the Pathfinder Society that were attached to these various nations of, Kadira and Andoran and Taldor and things like that, and Osirian. So these are kind of going back to some of those classic locations, but showing them having some turmoil. So it's a little bit of a nod to the past, but you don't have to be familiar with the past of the Pathfinder Society to pick up on it. The season's very much organized so that it's got like these little tiny mini arcs that are bite-sized, 2, maybe 3 scenarios, so you can jump in and tell a complete story. And one of those mini arcs is beginning this month, February. And then the other scenario we've got this month is more independent. So it's got some ties to some things that are going to be coming down the pike that I would like to tell you about here today as well.
Yes, please.
So
the Starfinder year,
mm-hmm.
The theme, it started, I want to say it was last August of last year. Is that right?
Pathfinder seasons begin at Gen Con generally. So, and then they run from Gen Con to Gen Con. So we picked up this theme, and there'll be a new one come next August. We're not quite ready to talk about that yet, but the schemes are definitely in place. I was just in the hour before this getting a look at some new developments in the art that's coming out for that. So that's going to be cool, and we can eventually share that with you. But what I can talk about more today is what we've got coming out this month for scenarios.
Yes.
So one of them is number 310, Delve the Pallid Depths. This is by Karen DeMarco. It's for level 1 to 4 characters. And some folks may have played a scenario last season that went into exploring some of the mysteries beneath a long ago erupted infamous volcano called Droskar's Crag. Basically, this volcano erupted and it shook Dwarven society to the core. It split open the earth, it destroyed the capital of the ancient Dwarven Empire, and it left countless people killed, displaced, and all these mysteries and relics that have yet to be uncovered. So the Pathfinder Society in that previous scenario had explore the area. They contended with some Dwergar who were there. But now, like, the remaining Dwergar raiders have kind of vanished, and they're not really sure why. It seems like maybe the area is safer now. So the Pathfinders in this adventure are kind of that expeditionary team who are going to poke their nose in and be like, is this safe now? What's going on? And when they do, they're going to discover some options of ways that the society might be able to go next with some of their future explorations. So be sure, if you're the GM here, to check those reporting conditions at the end of the scenario, what your PCs said they wanted to do, because that's going to shape... there's an upcoming scenario that's going to be sort of like, maybe we do this or maybe we do this, and that's going to be decided based on fan feedback. The other one we have this month is No Time for Treason. This one is a level 3 to 6 scenario written by Rigby Bendel. And in this one takes place in Taldor. We've got a venture captain there named Muacello, who's best known for his Wayfinder crafting, but his Wayfinders have been showing up in all sorts of suspicious places. So in this scenario, your PCs are going to get a chance to investigate around the city of Opara and figure out what's up. Is he up to no good, or is there a larger conspiracy at play? That will be for you to determine. There's a rather sticky situation going on here, and you will be right in the thick of it.
Excellent. I'm really excited. It's interesting and exciting to hear that some of the little plot lines are just now beginning, even though the overarching meta plot for Pathfinder Society started late July, August. Some of the plots are just sort of being unveiled now. So it's certainly not too late to jump in with a first level character and start investigating and exploring. Because my understanding is these meta years all sort of build up to a big climax at really the end of the year. Is that right?
So this one's got like all these little pieces that are all coming together, and we kind of have, and we do have things coming together more at the end of the year too. So we're moving away from the model where we would say, okay, the year's gonna culminate climax in the interactive special, so like you got to be at the special to see it. We're trying to make sure that people can more see the conclusion to those stories and things that are accessible to a lot of people.
Oh, good. I'm glad I asked. Thank you for the clarity. That sounds even more accessible. And I'm sure the big special at the cons will still be exciting. It's just something that people can opt into.
That's
thank you very much.
The Paizo Live spoiler. I've got a little bit to say about the this year's interactive.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get that done, and we'll circle back. So now let's talk about the other two products that are coming out that aren't officially part of the organized play system, but are digital, 100% digital, just like the scenarios, and you also manage the team that creates those. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, so this month's bounty, Pathfinder bounty number 18. Can't believe we're up to 18 already. From Family Lost by Alexi Greer. This bounty has something that none of its 17 predecessors have had yet, though. And you can see that right on the cover. This is our first bounty to be level 3. Every other bounty we've done is level 1, so we're giving a shot at this slightly higher level content. So in the story for this one, there is, if you've heard of the World Wound, in first edition, there was this giant gaping hole in the giant gaping hole in the world from which rift to the abyss poured out a steady stream of demons and caused all sorts of mayhem. And this is sort of taking a look at sort of what happened after. So there's a hamlet in that Crusader nation of Mendev that was right next to the World Rune that is just now getting reclaimed. And the PCs are going to be the first ones to venture in there, kind of figure out what happened. And since they're the first ones reclaiming this place, it's not necessarily exactly the safest place to be. There might be some dangers that were left behind from those epic battles, as well as stories that the PCs will get a chance to uncover in this short 1-hour adventure. And the other one that we've got is a one-shot. Pathfinder one-shot number 4, Mark of the Mantis. So one of the cool things about this one is that a lot of times, if a story hook starts out with someone has been assassinated, you assume that the next thing's going to be, oh, you're the heroes. You gotta investigate and you gotta find out who did it, and you gotta put things right. But in this case, no. You are all pre-generated characters, members of the infamous Red Mantis assassins. And the problem with this assassination isn't that somebody died. No, 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 no. The problem is that whoever killed them made it look like you did it, and they were sloppy. You can't let that happen. So, it's time for you to gear up, infiltrate a high society function, and paint the town red in a way that only a group of Red Mantis assassins can.
Oh, that sounds like a fun one shot. And yeah, a little dark because assassination is always a little maybe not good characters, but maybe not the heroes, maybe sometimes anti-heroes. But that just sounds like a really fun opportunity for some good role play as well as some good action.
Yeah, and the adventure has some guidance for like, hey, these characters are evil. How do we make sure that they all play together nicely? And also, like, your target is somebody who like went and assassinated someone, so like they're not exactly, they're not exactly all sunshine and roses themselves. So it's definitely, definitely a darker and grittier adventure.
Okay, good. It's good to say that out loud. It's good to make sure we set expectations. Certainly we kind of have a Pathfinder baseline where there are certain expectations of what heroes are going to do and what people can expect out of an adventure, and yet we know there's appetite for coloring outside of those lines. And as long as it's clearly spoken, great. Have at it. Have a good time.
I wouldn't call these heroes in this one.
What's that?
But they do get to show off their awesome abilities, and there's a lot of room for creativity in this adventure too.
Excellent. That's mostly what we wanted to talk about today with organized play. Let me just see if we're going to have to keep on a tight time schedule. Let's see if we have any time for questions for chat. Chat, do you have any Pathfinder Society questions you want to post real quick? There we go. Pardon me while I put on my reading glasses. Contract is a contract. There you go. All right. Well, we'll launch into your Paizo Live spoiler, and then if some questions pop up in chat, we'll maybe throw them in. But what's your where can people find you if they'd like to find out more about organized play or Pathfinder Society or what you do, Linda? What's the best way for people to contact you?
So I am not on the internet in a huge number of places, but generally where you can find me is on the Discord server that is tied to the Twitch stream that I do twice a week. You can join the Arcane Mark Discord server at tiny.cc/arcanemark and come hang out with me there. And that streams every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific and every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific.
Excellent. Thank you. The comment from chat is not a question, but a statement that you're pretty great. They think Linda's pretty great. So we'll agree with you. Agree with them. What we like to, as every guest leaves, we like to have them share a Paizo Live spoiler about an upcoming product or event that's been announced but hasn't released yet. What do you have for us, Linda?
So, you presumably know there's going to be an interactive for Starfinder Society and an interactive for Pathfinder Society this year, and I'm not going to announce their titles yet, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with them. Just drop that first little hint. So the Starfinder Society interactive this year is going to tie into the Drift Crisis, and that whole ongoing story. And the Pathfinder Society one is going to be picking up on some of the things that are going to get discovered here in this month's Pathfinder Society scenario. Some of those some of those ancient ruins and secrets that you're going to be uncovering deep within the volcano.
So if you're wanting to be involved in that special at the end of the Pathfinder Society season, this scenario is one to make sure you participate in.
It's a good one to get that context. Yeah, you don't need to have the background context to necessarily understand, what we're going to be challenging, like this big giant mountain dungeon thing, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really great because
have those connections, you can find them.
Yeah, excellent. Great. Thank you so much. I'll just see if there's any other questions here. Yeah, interactive. They're just really excited about the upcoming interactives that are going to play that are going to happen ahead. So thank you very much for joining us, Linda. This was the time we had set aside for you, and we want to make sure that you can get off to participate in the going away party for Mark Seifter. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to having you back on Paizo Live soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So next up, we're going to have Jason Bullman join us after the break to talk about Pathfinder rulebooks, accessories, board games, and more. See you in about 5 minutes.
The latest releases for Pathfinder and Starfinder are now available at your local game store and Paizo.com. Unravel the eldritch mysteries of the galaxy. The new Galactic Magic hardcover rulebook for the Starfinder role-playing game adds magical flair to any hero with a wealth of fantastical magic-infused character options for starfarers of any class. More than 100 spells, a host of powerful rituals, and an array of magic gear, hybrid items, and artifacts give you the edge to survive in a weird universe with lurking dangers at the end of every jump. The brand new Precog class allows you to see and change the future, relying on predictive pre-rolls to navigate clutch situations and quick reflexes to manipulate combat. Study Arcana among the stars with a host of new magical organizations and spellcasting schools, or petition higher powers using the new faith-based options tied to the galaxy's gods and philosophies. Whatever your path to magical might, Galactic Magic is your guide. For generations, the Broken Tusk following has roamed their small patch of the realm of the Mammoth Lords in relative peace. Now, to avoid the annihilation from a maniacal war horde, they must flee into the unknown. If the Broken Tusk are to survive their fight, a team of their best scouts will need to chart a safe path through an unforgiving wilderness. Along the way, they'll uncover the mysteries of a powerful artifact that promises to change the course of history. Broken Tusk Moon is book 1 of the 3-part quest for the Frozen Flame adventure path. A desperate scam artist prowls the bars of Drifter's End, fleecing the Taurus and Starship crews of Absalom Station out of their hard-earned credits with a chunk of fake Horus Alsum, and the chance to invest in their newly discovered Star Metal vein. It's up to the PCs to track down this fake miner and haul them back to pay their dues in the first Starfinder bounty, the Cantina job. Pathfinder Society adventures continue with Foundation's Price, where a group of Pathfinders must investigate the construction of a new lodge. Finding the brand new structure in a state of alarming despair, the Pathfinders have little time to search for answers before a booming voice greets them. If they wish to have their lodge, they'll have to complete 3 tasks. Seemingly endless hordes of undead have been seen surging up from the depths of the sand-swept hall of the Pathfinder Society adventure, The Secluded Siege. The Lodge's forces are locked in constant battle with the undead, and they have an experienced strike team to descend into the hall's lower levels and find the source of the undead menace. When a simulated training mission goes wrong, a team of novice Starfinders find themselves trapped in a corrupted version of the virtual reality training program in the Starfinder Society adventure, Hard Reset. After meeting a mysterious stranger within the system, they face an important choice: exit the program, or stay and fight to save guidance from the Data Scourge. If they choose to fight, they experience strange revelations and battle dangerous glitches, all leading to the truth behind the Data Scourge attacks. Master every last incantation with Pathfinder spell card, Secrets of Magic. This indispensable spellcasting accessory contains over 400 spell reference cards, spanning every magical tradition and focus spell for the secrets of magic. Players of any spellcasting class can easily arrange, plan, and manage their spells, whether they're getting ready for a day of adventuring or facing down a monster. Keep all the wonder and magic of Pathfinder at your fingertips, ready to be unleashed. Hold the magic of the galaxy in your hands with Starfinder spell cards, the must-have accessory no superior science fantasy spellcaster can do without. More than 250 sturdy spell reference cards covering every spell of the Starfinder core rulebook and Starfinder character operations manual gives every player instant access to key game details at a glance. Introducing Pathfinder Flip Mat Enormous Forest, a brand new amazingly giant flip mat bigger than any Paizo has ever produced before. Measuring a titanic 30 by 46 inches when unfolded, this new map presents a sprawling section of forest on each side. One side dense and primeval, and the other cut through with a shaded road just perfect for ambushing characters. Spread this woodland across your tabletop and watch your players' eyes pop out of the enormity of it all. Your players' characters' biggest problems just got even bigger. Explore the streets and scenes of the city at the center of the world with the City of Lost Omens poster map folio. 4 enormous 8-panel maps combine to create by far the largest city map ever published for Pathfinder. A wall-dominating presentation of 64 by 41 inches that allows players to get closer than ever before to the intrigues and dangers of Absalom, Pathfinder's most prominent metropolis. A million fates await the heroes in Absalom, and perhaps just slightly fewer buildings, monuments, temples, and taverns. Chart them all in meticulous detail with these gorgeous and gigantic city poster maps. Find your path to friendship and adventure with these new releases and more at Paizo.com and your favorite local game store.
Welcome back to Paizo Live. I'm Aaron Shanks, Paizo's marketing and media manager, and your host. Today, we're talking about all things February in Pathfinder and Starfinder, and more. Just last segment, we met with Linda Zayas-Palmer to talk about organized play and Pathfinder Society. And now we're going to meet with Director of Game Design, Jason Bullman, to talk about Pathfinder, some accessories, some rule books that are ahead, and a board game or two. Jason, welcome to Paizo Live. Thanks for joining us.
Hey there, Aaron. How's everybody doing here on Paizo Live on this fine Friday afternoon?
Looks like we have an active chat going, and
nice.
They're all very excited to see and to hear from you. Just humor me for this first segment. We have a lot of accessories that are releasing this month, and it's an opportunity to educate and show off at the same time. So you tell me just how much the design department is involved in the various products that I put in front of you. Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe not specifically, but overall.
It's funny because some products are just like, that's art, we ordered it and we're done. But then there's things like, and it's not even in this, but like the upcoming deck of endless NPCs. Like I spent 2 weeks designing that thing. So, it ranges a lot from almost nothing from the design department to a ridiculous amount of work.
Right. So flip tiles.
Flip tiles, yeah.
Yeah,
the flip tiles are awesome. We get a designer to kind of design out the set, and then the art team works on it. That one is what's that? Fortress Chambers, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Fortress Chambers.
Like everything inside a castle. That's the way I would describe it.
Yeah, it's kind of when you've got that adventure inside of a castle, you can lay these out to create kind of all the various rooms and interior pieces. I think this is an expansion set to the Fortress base set, though. So you need that one to kind of help flesh out the walls and corridors and whatnot.
Indeed. And then we have the Alien Archive 1 and 2 battle cards. Now, we originally came out with the battle cards for Pathfinder. And I assume the design team, it all started with you.
those were so ridiculously useful that the moment the cards came out, the first question we got is, when are we getting those for Starfinder? So the answer is now. These are just about to drop. This contains all of the monsters from Alien Archives 1 and 2. I know the Starfinder team is super excited to get these in their hands. It makes running the game so much easier, so much simpler to play. It allows you to show them the monsters without spoiling the stats. They are really, really handy. I like the monster cards a lot. I even get a good amount of use for them just when I'm even when I'm running on VTTs, because it allows me to have them not on a computer screen, allowing me to kind of reference stats, in a different way, which is handy.
It's big, gorgeous art and all the stats, and all of our cards are and our flip mats are available as digital downloads on Paizo.com as well. So, as the marketing guy, I got to remind people that it's not just in print.
It's kind of our mantra is, what format do you want it in? We will sell it to you in that format. That is
exactly.
Yeah.
So I just, screaming through this, I don't think the design department had much to do with this at all, but I have a feeling everyone's going to want to use it.
It's so
Jason
big.
said this is so big. I just have to show it off. So this is twice the playable space as a normal flip mat. And it is nothing but a grid on both sides with, slightly different color to it. Beige or gray, those are options.
It is so large. The original flip mat size is 24 by 30. This one, I believe, is 30 by like 46. So it's like almost twice the number of squares, playable squares. So, if you got one of those really big dining room tables, this one will cover it. And if it's bigger than that, I don't know what to do. We can't make them bigger.
Tell your favorite local game store to have these available to check out as a library option, because it's going to be popular for every game at your favorite local game store.
Eventually, we'll just start printing the grid on giant tarps.
They will
drape it over your apartment.
Wherever you want. And then lastly, we have a Flipmat Classic that has come back, and that is the Flipmat Classic Keep. And of course, the classics are things that have been printed in the past and been so popular that we've. Yeah, very old, but some of them are classics. And okay, so I just wanted to show and tell with you, a designer, to talk about how the design team and the accessories combine. I mean, something like the crit deck, the fumble deck, the critical hit deck. The new deck came out with the hero point deck. That's got to be an extensive product for a designer design.
I think our accessories kind of fall into a number of categories, but generally speaking, all of them are there to make your life as a GM easier, more fun, right? It's either an accessory to kind of add some spice to your table, or it's something to help you visualize the game, right? I think that's our primary goal with these, is just to add a little bit more to your game. It's if you're just getting into things, maybe it's more than you need, but over time, it is a way to kind of customize and add to your play space. Can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now there is no convenient segue. We're just going to move right off into board games. We're going to take a sharp turn and talk about the upcoming Pathfinder Goblin Firework fight. It's a board game, and tell us about it. How have you been involved in this board game, and what can people expect out of it?
So, Goblin Firework Fight is a game that's frankly been floating around mostly on my desk for a few years now, and we just didn't find the right time to do it. We were really close to sending it to the printer kind of at the start of the pandemic, but the game really requires you to play in person because it's about stealing fireworks, and those fireworks come in tokens, and those tokens end up going in a bag. And we were like, well, I don't think anybody's going to be handing a bag from person to person anytime soon, so we kind of held off a bit on sending it to the printer. But Goblin Firework Fight is a fun-filled game for 2 to 4 players. And in this game, you are each taking on the role of a goblin who is raiding the town of Sandpoint, trying to steal as many fireworks as possible. And the one who steals the most fireworks will be declared the bestest of the raid. So the entire thing is really fast-paced. You basically create a pile of these tokens, you draw some out and reveal them, and everyone gets to steal from them. And you're either going to take a firework token, which just goes into your pile, or you're going to take things like a dog slicer, which allows you to steal from another player, or a shield, which will defend you from steals later. There's a whole bunch of different ways to play. There's kind of a more advanced version that adds roll cards. But throughout this whole thing, there's this whole other thing going on that Squealy Nord has joined you in the raid. And Squealy Nord has a bunch of mischievous tricks that he's going to play on all of you, because he's running around the pile of fireworks. So there's all these little pig tokens you can pull. And whenever you draw a Squealy Nord token, you draw from the deck, and Squealy Nord things can happen. Things like everybody exchanges a firework, or everybody steals from everybody, or there's a big angry dog and everyone has to run away, or use a dog slicer to steal more. So there's a whole bunch of fun, kind of fast-paced little mechanics built into the game. It's really light. It's the sort of game you might sit down and play if your game's going to start half an hour late. But it's designed to be fast, fun. You have a few laughs. You move on to your Pathfinder game that's just about to start.
Yeah, looks perfect for home use if before you start your game, or maybe it's the holidays and you want to play with your family, and maybe they don't role play, but this sounds like a game that's lighthearted and fun enough that everyone can sit around and have a good time and enjoy the flavor of a Pathfinder goblin or some pigs. I've seen some of the art, and it's good, silly fun, and I think everybody's going to be able to figure it out and have a good time. Or play at a convention. Have a quick round at a convention before you go off and do something else.
It's super approachable, right? I can teach people how to play the game in 2 minutes. It's really straightforward on how to play.
Cool.
But I think what isn't immediately apparent is just how devious the game can be as you go along, and people are stealing from each other left and right. And you can go from winning the game to losing in 2 turns and be like, "What just happened?" And blame that blasted pig.
Excellent. Well, we'll get our hands on some of the art and maybe some of the tokens and show them off in future episodes of Paizo Live. It's coming soon, but isn't ready yet. But since I had you on the show, I needed to make sure that that we had a chance to talk about it. It's one of those that the product itself, I've heard from the warehouse, it's like on the cusp of whether or not we're going to get it or not, and so that everybody knows we're going through international shipping chaos, and we're never 100% sure exactly what's going to come in or when, and more on that soon. But the board game is in that category of just being on the edge. So we will make sure to fill your stream with goblins and pigs in the near future when we know it is in the warehouse and ready to be purchased. So thank you very much for that insight, Jason. Let's move on now. I have the other big thing that everybody wants to hear about is 3 products that were slated for a late March release, but have now, due to international shipping chaos, rolled back to late April. And that is Book of the Dead, a Pathfinder rulebook about Book of the Dead. It is, of course, one of the biggest books that will release this year. We're going to be talking about it for the next 3 months. This is the first of or more. But I do have they are first off copies. So you can see there on the screen that there's the pocket edition, which is here. So these are first off copies. You're seeing it for the first time here. Book of the Dead. Nice paperback. And then the hardcover, big boy. There we go. The final cover has been released, so you should see that on the website or in our social media. And lastly, Jason helped me realize that this is probably something you haven't seen, and it's the special edition of the Pathfinder Book of the Dead. This is still in the saran wrap, but that's what it looks like, which is a little different.
So
Let me
good.
see if I can. Yeah, maybe see if we can. There we go. Show you what that looks like. There we go. I'll just move it across the screen. So that's our special edition of the Pathfinder Book of the Dead. So those, no, I can't send those to you, chat. I'm sorry. Those are the only copies in North America currently. So those will be returned. I will be returning those to the warehouse as under lock and key as soon as this show is done. But that gives us an opportunity to talk about what is Book of the Dead. Jason, I have been doing little previews here and there, asking people have been asking questions on the product page, on the forums, on Paizo.com, and I've found the PDF and started to look up odds and ends about, okay, well, here's the answer to this question, or here's the answer to that question. But maybe you can help with the big picture. In the big picture, what is this book and what makes it different from Pathfinder rulebooks before it?
Well, first off, I want to confirm that you're going to drop those off in the warehouse, and just tell me where you're going to drop them off for no particular reason.
No, it's for science.
No, so Book of the Dead. God, I'm excited about this book. I'm a huge fan of undead. Anyone who's ever attended any of my panels at shows knows how much I love undead. And because I can't stop talking about them. So when we decided that we were going to do this book, I knew that I wanted to be a big part of it, and I knew this book was going to be something special. So this Book of the Dead is both a rule book and kind of a new concept book for us. It kind of we're going further and further afield from kind of the core of the game. And Book of the Dead is the first kind of monster focus book. Its job is to kind of say, hey, undead are really cool. Let's do an entire book about undead, but it's going to be more than just monsters. It's going to be rules for fighting undead, rules for being undead, lore about our world. It's going to include a mountain of new undead creatures, obviously, but it's also going to include a brand new adventure looking at the undead and dealing with the undead. So Book of the Dead is kind of there to be like, do you want to feature undead in your game or make them an important part of an upcoming adventure? Book of the Dead is going to be there for you. Now, we also had this super handy in-world reasoning for this, in that there is in Galarian, there is an Assyrian Book of the Dead that was co-written by Geb, the ghost from the cover, who rules in his eponymous nation. And Geb kind of took the original Book of the Dead, which was designed to tell you how to carefully preserve the dead and prepare them for their afterlife, and he kind of rewrote it. So this book is filled with excerpts from Geb, in Geb's voice, kind of all throughout the book. There are bits of lore and wisdom from Geb, and it starts with him talking about heroes and the way that they fight undead, because the book is organized in that fashion. So it starts off with, the first chapter is called Prayers for the Living, and that is all tools for fighting against undead. Then comes Hymns for the Dead, which is the entire chapter dealing with being undead or being aligned with the undead. So that's where you're going to get a whole bunch of undead archetypes. You're going to get the undead ancestry in the skeleton. You're going to get a whole bunch of necromantic archetypes, things to make you a better necromancer. That's then followed up with the absolutely massive Grim Crypt, and that chapter 3, is where you're going to find all of your undead. And I say massive because it's over 100 pages long. The book itself is a bit over 200 pages. Almost half of it is just undead. And that is then followed up by The Lands of the Dead, which is the chapter kind of talking about all the various realms of that feature undead heavily in our campaign. So you're going to see things about Geb, obviously, in the Gravelands, Osirian, Shenmen, Ustalav, Ordelia, Mizali. I'm just reading from the TOC right now. I have the PDF. I don't have the book. I'm not as fortunate as you, Aaron. And then obviously then it wraps up with an adventure called the March of the Dead, which is an adventure that I wrote and is going to be a blast. I can't wait for people to die to it. I mean, experience it.
Experience it. Beginning, middle, and end whenever that happens.
Yes.
What level does that start at? Do you recall? I think I do.
March of the Dead? I believe...
That's a question from chat. That's why I threw it in.
If I recall correctly, March of the Dead is for third level characters. So
that's what I recall.
Don't bring your brand new character. I want you to invest a little bit in the character before this adventure kills them.
Yeah, indeed.
And then you've got a great excuse to play an undead because you'll be one. It'll be
fun. There's a very specific question that I don't have. It's from chat that I don't have the knowledge about, and it's about nightshades. Do you know if, because I think they might go by a different name than I am used to. Do you know if they make?
They are in the book. All four of them are in the book. They're called Darvaka is what they are. Yeah.
Thank you.
So all four of them are in the book, and they are some of the most powerful undead in here. As a matter of fact, let me just go to it and see what their levels are. Let's see. We got the Vaniver. That one's level 13. That's the Nightwing. Then we've got the Nightwalker, which is the Psykever. That's level 15. Then we've got the Urveth, which is level 18. That is the Nightcrawler. And then we ended up with the Nightwave, which is the Nazargeth, which is level 20. So, yeah, they do not mess around either. They have some ridiculously powerful abilities, some of the most terrifyingly powerful abilities I've seen. They've got great.
Those would be monsters. Yeah, those are monsters that people might recall from Pathfinder First Edition that they're just looking to bring forward into Second Edition. I think that's the context.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the Grim Crypt, you're going to see a lot of creatures that you're familiar with, right? You're going to see new forms of zombies, new forms of skeletons. You're going to see some things that are returning from First Edition, like the Pale Stranger, or the Siabre, or the Shredskin. Some of these things I think were around in First Edition. Some of them are being brought back here for this book. So you're going to see a lot of fun stuff. No matter kind of what you're playing around with, there's going to be more rules for you here in the game. I think there are a lot of folks who are really excited about some of the undead archetypes. I know I am too. This book lets you become a lich, right? I mean, as an archetype, that's not bad. And you can pick up the first feat for that. I think at 12th is when you can become a lich. So that's good. At 12th level, you become a lich and you get a soul cage, which is really nice. You can put your soul in there and keep it safe. That way you can't be really destroyed. And I have it on good authority that you can get an undead familiar here. The picture certainly has one. There's the little undead monkey familiar. This is from the lich archetype here. I just grabbed a screen cap of the page.
Yes.
Yeah. So lots of fun stuff floating around in here. And as you go up in levels, you can continue gaining some cool lich abilities that allow you to drain your soul cage. You can start doing the kind of hand of the lich thing where you your hand does more damage and can slow people. Lots of fun stuff, right? I don't think you ever quite get to the full power of the Lich. I mean, even once you've taken all of the feats, you're close. But that's, there are balance bits that we have to play with, but lots of fun stuff in here.
Yeah. So I believe it's been revealed that that skeleton is the new ancestry. So you can choose to be a skeleton from first level, and essentially, all of the most of the knowledge of your former life has been stripped away, so to speak, and so you're starting fresh as a skeleton, and then
Yeah. I mean, you don't have any meat. So
yeah.
the meat is what held your memories and levels of your past life. So now that that's gone, you're done. You have to kind of start over.
Start over. But things like vampire, ghoul, mummy,
I mean,
they're there.
As a skeleton, you can take a feat at first level called Play Dead. That literally for one action just allows you to pretend to be an ordinary skeleton. You just kind of lay over and are just like, nope, nobody. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's interesting. I have a feeling this is sort of the subject matter is dark, but I think the design team has proven how you can keep a sense of humor throughout all of these dark subjects. So I think it's going to be a very entertaining read.
Yeah, I mean, our approach to this book was, let's make sure we find the fun in undead, right? I think there is an element of that is grim horror, and certainly when you get to the adventure, that's what the adventure is all about, right? Like, the adventure is not a place filled with zany jokes. It's a pretty grim, horrible affair, and you're at the site where a lot of people have died, and good luck getting out alive. And so I'm really interested to see how various groups deal with it and what their stories are, because I think everybody's going to have a very different approach to it. But in other parts of the book, honestly, we tried to have some fun with it, because if these are going to be your player options, right? If you're going to be an undead character, or if you're going to be fighting against undead, we wanted you to have some things that are at least fun and entertaining to play with, right? Being able to throw bone missiles as a skeleton, right? I mean, it's just entertaining, right? It creates a kind of a deeper, richer narrative for everyone to play with in the undead. So can't go wrong with that.
I'm seeing, questions pop up in chat. Sometimes they have to do with, well, what about the Bloodlords AP? And I think people the topics are sort of ranging towards the future releases at Paizo, which I guess is an opportunity to say that the next Lost Omens book is the Knights of Lastwall, which is really about a group of knights, an organization that's devoted to fighting the undead and the big lich of our campaign. So, and then there's yeah, and then there's Bloodlords, the Adventure Path. So yes, this book kind of kicks off a bit of a theme we have going on this year. I think
that actually, you're going to see that repeated time and time again with a lot of what we're doing these days. Is we will put out rules in a large book that help support the products that have to come after it, right? We can't exactly give you a book dealing with the Bloodlords and dealing deeply with undead until we've laid down a bunch of the rules foundation for it. So in the same way, you can't have an adventure about a bunch of gunslingers until you've put out Guns and Gears, right? So that's kind of what's going on here. So folks have very keenly caught on to our obvious plan. That we're going to put out these books and then we're going to support them. And I know it's shocking.
Well, let's see. I will state that the images that we saw earlier are the chapter header full page illustrations that you'll find in Book of the Dead. I will be repeating them later in the show when we talk to Jessica. The question I want to throw back to you, Jason, is about people who want to play really the necromancer crowd, people who want to be a more intense, powerful necromancer. What will they find in this book? And then you can just go into your Paizo Live spoiler and show everything that you want to show.
So obviously in Hymns of the Dead, you're going to get a lot of stuff about being a more powerful necromancer, right? So I'm actually going to it right now. There's an entire treatise on necromancy written by Geb, which is all of his sections, by the way, are an absolute delight. I highly recommend just flipping through the book and reading them. They're fantastic. He is haughty and arrogant and a know-it-all, but oddly witty at the same time. But then you get into things like, here are extra class features for necromancers. There's a reanimator necro archetype that is all about raising more undead. You can actually start getting undead allies, like an undead eidolon, where you can drain its life. You can get undead animal companions. There's some great art in here too, by the way. I can't. The art in this book just knocks my socks off every time I flip through it. You can get vampire animals or zombie animals, right? Yeah, I think you can actually just have a zombie companion. He just kind of shambles along behind you. But then on the very next page, there's this adorable ghost basset hound that's going to follow you around. You can have what you want. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. You don't even have to be a spellcaster, right? Like the undead master archetype. It doesn't require spellcasting, just allows you to have an undead animal companion and stuff like that. There's so much stuff to play around with in here, and you're going to be able to find the tools to do kind of whatever you want. You might have to go one way or another, but there's going to be something that's going to suit your needs. Now, before we go, I'd be remiss not talking about liches, because anyone who knows me knows that I love liches. They are my favorite. So naturally, when the assignments for this book were going out, I was like, I will take liches. So I want to talk a little bit about liches here. The liches obviously start out with another treatise by Geb talking about why he didn't go the lich route and how it's kind of a scam. But it then goes in to discuss a number of new lich powers you can give them, some of which are very cool. And then it goes through two brand new kind of lich stat blocks. One of which is called the Rune Carved Lich. This lich writes and carves runes into its bones and has a spell book in its ribcage that flips, that it can flip through and reference. It hides weapons inside of its arms. It can replace one of its arm bones with a wand. It can do a lot of cool stuff. The other lich is called the Horde Lich, and this lich has a bunch of smaller skeletons tethered to its consciousness that it folds up into its body and carries around with it. And you know what? Here, let's just go ahead and show you what it. Here's the spread. I'm spoiling an awful lot here. I don't know if the resolution is good enough. Hopefully, you can grab a whole bunch of spoilers off this. But the Horde Lich there has a whole bunch of mini liches folded up into its body, and whenever you attack it, it can ditch some of those and have them come flying off of it and go running around. And whenever it casts spells, it can have them come from any one of the smaller bodies that are tethered to it. And it can reactively defend itself from you by expending those other small liches. So, just a lot of really fun stuff. I can't wait for someone to give their lich the animated cage ability, which allows the lich to put its soul into an animated soul cage that can run away from you.
Oh,
it's
boy.
Cruel. It's cruel. But I love it.
Liches will never be the same again. This is what a great opportunity to just dive into the world that we know and love, but expand it and custom. Even though Pathfinder is known for deep character customization, it's known for deep monster customization. I mean, it's really got some really flexible stuff, and you went wild, I can tell.
Yeah. This book in particular has got a lot of fun stuff for GMs.
Yeah, well, and it's balanced clearly, right? There's plenty of stuff for a couple of chapters for players, a couple of chapters for GMs, and then the lore is for everybody. That's the way I'm looking at it. The adventure for GMs and the monsters for GMs, and then, so it's definitely a must-have.
We gave the players a couple tools so that we could be meaner to them with the undead in the rest of the book. Don't tell the players that, though. Shh, it's a secret.
This is the way. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Jason. We'll I'm sure there are 15,000 more questions, and we will, of course, be talking more about Pathfinder Book of the Dead on our blogs, on social media, with the media, and on Paizo Live in the months to come until it's finally in everyone's hands. So thank you for kicking it off for us, and we'll let you go to Mark Seifter's party and say goodbye for now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a blast.
Okay, now we'll take a 5-minute break and or so, and when we come back, we'll have Jessica Catalan and Alex Spidel talking about Starfinder Society and upcoming conventions and the Pathfinder Quest for the Frozen Flame adventure path, because Jessica's been involved in that much more than just involved. And Jessica is one of the co-authors of Pathfinder Book of the Dead. So we're having more Book of the Dead conversation when we come back in the next segment. So make sure you come back. We'll see you soon.
The Magambia is the oldest and greatest academy of magic in the world. Here, old mage Jatimbe brought back the light of lost knowledge thousands of years ago, and his legacy still stands today. The newest initiates at the school, eager for knowledge, soon discover there's more going on at the Magic Academy than lessons and student rivalries. As years pass, the students are destined to become teachers, responsible for the Magambia's reputation around the world and beyond. They shall carve their names into the legacy of the great school, building upon the strength of thousands of graduates who have come before them. But learning never ends, and neither does the danger. The stories of these legendary heroes and their mighty foes will span the ages, rivaling even the tales of the old mage Jatimbe's 10 magic warriors, and the fate of the Magambia is destined to be in their hands. Enter a magic school like none other, with the strength of thousands adventure path.
Welcome to New Harmony. This recently discovered planet in the vast, currently devoid of intelligent life, has been designated as a settlement site. And with the generous backing from the likes of the Aspith Consortium, the Starfinder Society, the Xeno Wardens, and the Viscarium, that's where you come in. As administrators of your very own land charter, it'll be your responsibility to explore the lush, fertile landscape, catalog the various forms of flora and fauna, construct projects that ensure the health, safety, and prosperity of your citizens. Negotiate with leaders of other charters for the benefit of all. Uncover ancient ruins and solve a mystery millennia in the making. In the end, the world of New Harmony is yours, should you survive. Horizons of the Vast is a Kingmaker and space-style adventure path for 1st to 12th level characters.
The Ruby Phoenix Tournament, the world's greatest martial arts contest, held in honor of the legendary sorcerer Hao Jin, the Ruby Phoenix. The final team standing in this once-per-decade contest wins a grand prize, their choice of a single item from Hao Jin's magnificent vault of treasures. This year, Hao Jin herself will preside as the grand judge. But to receive the honor of just even meeting the Ruby Phoenix, the contestants must first prove their mettle and strength in the untamed jungles of Danger Island. Only the 8 greatest teams will proceed to the metropolis of Goka to compete for the title of Ruby Phoenix champions during a year that promises to be unlike any other. Countless untold mysteries await the challengers. Will it be mysterious scoundrels like the Lightkeepers? Brave friends such as Tino's Toughest? Or will it be your team of adventuring heroes to claim the Sorcerer's Prize? Let the games begin with the Fists of the Ruby Phoenix Adventure Path.
So, you used to work for Edge Corp, huh? Taking it to the edge and all that. You were just a long hauler, shipping cargo from one planet to another for low pay, worse benefits, and the promise of a bonus that never showed up. Now, you're your own boss, looking for cargo you can buy for cheap and sell for bank. Jobs are everywhere. Absalom Station, sure, but the Vescarium too. Near space, even the Vast. Get used to the drift, cause you're gonna be flying long hauls. And some of the things that live in that place, they don't like visitors. I heard Edge Corp is still after you. Something about a stolen ship? And the Golden League is after you too? You got a long list of enemies, hotshot. You better start making some friends. Cause if there's one thing I've learned in a lifetime of carrying freight, it's that every bill comes due. If you really want to be free to go where you want, do as you please, you're gonna have to settle up with these people. And revenge ain't cheap. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Welcome back to Paizo Live. I'm Aaron Shanks, your host and Paizo's marketing and media manager. Earlier in the show, we talked to Linda Zayas-Palmer about Pathfinder Society and organized play, as well as our new third level Pathfinder bounty and our new digital one-shot, Mark of the Mantis, which you'll want to make sure you download. And then in the second segment, we talked to Jason Bullman about some of the accessories coming your way, a new board game called Goblin Firework Fight, which actually is going to be the beginning of quite a handful of new Pathfinder and Starfinder board games heading your way in the next year or more because of some of our licensed partners like Gale Force 9. This is not a Gale Force 9 board game, but they have a lot of plans of their own. So I'm really looking forward to having a whole bunch of these board games and puzzles that we can have around us at our gaming table. And then with Jason, we also talked about, a little book called Book of the Dead that people seem kind of excited about, and showed off the hardcovers and the special edition and the softcover pocket edition, and had a great time just getting a really big overview of what that book is. And now we're going to bring in two new guests. We have Jessica Catalan, and Jessica, thanks for joining us. Jessica wears a lot of hats this time around. You are the Starfinder Society developer, and you also, of course, take freelance work. And so you're here today to talk about Starfinder Society, past, present, and future. You are the author of Volume 2 of Lost Mammoth Valley, which is Volume 2 of Quest for the Frozen Flame. And you are one of two authors on the cover of Book of the Dead. So yeah, we have some things to talk about, Jessica. You've been a busy woman. Congratulations on all of these credits. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So let's take, one. Oh, before we launch into all the conversations about all the things, let's also bring in Alex Bidell, organized play coordinator. Alex, welcome.
Yes. Hello, Aaron.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here. Hello to you, hello to Jessica, hello to chat, and hello to the people on Reddit who transcribe these streams and post them on Reddit. You're the real heroes here.
Oh dear. I need to speak much more clearly all of a sudden. That's wonderful. No, our Reddit communities are great. Our
Absolutely.
Pathfinder,
Our whole community is great.
I mean, well, yes, that's true.
Don't stutter on that.
I personally was a little reticent as a marketing manager to become involved in Reddit many years ago. And I have been happy to discover that it's a really vibrant, thriving community that reflects the pirates. So, yes, you're right, Alex. Alex, describe for folks what your role is in the organized play scheme, please.
Yeah, boy, how much time do you have? Explaining my job is the weird thing that I do at every family get-together. The short version is that while Linda and Jessica and Mike and Thurston are the sort of creative team behind putting together our digital adventures, I'm the one who goes out there and kind of makes them happen. I work with our volunteers to put on events at your local game stores, events online, as well as, larger conventions, which we might have a little chat about here shortly. I take the wonderful work that they're doing and I make sure that it gets out into the world and people are able to play it.
Great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for representing.
Absolutely. I'll let you talk to Jessica now because she's got fun stuff to talk about.
I know. We're gonna Alex, jump in if you've got relevant information to share about any particular products, how it applies to organized play.
Dangerous offer to make.
So, Jessica, we want to talk about the first one we want to talk about is Quest for the Frozen Flame, Volume 2. Now, just as a good marketing pro, I need to remind everybody that this is Volume 2. The first adventure launched last month. It's called Broken Tusk Moon. And if you want to play this adventure path, it is there's a free downloadable player's guide on at Paizo.com that you can download, get to know what the adventure is all about, the adventure path is all about, and start making some characters that are going to be unique to this adventure path. Last Paizo Live, we talked to Ron Lundeen and his wife and Patrick Rini about the adventure path as a whole, and Volume 1. And so now we get the opportunity to just touch base on Volume 2 with Jessica. Jessica, how did you create, what did you do for Volume 2? What can you tell us about how you created Volume 2? It's kind of a trick
Lost
question.
West Valley is part 2 of a 3-part adventure path. I was coming at this before I was working here at Paizo, so I was just a freelancer, and I wrote the whole volume cover to cover. Obviously, there are lots of editors and developers who get their hands on it after me, but the adventure, all the back matter, and everything is mine.
Yeah, there are 3 chapters, which I think most adventure paths follow a 3-chapter structure, each volume. Then there's a back matter article on Religions of the Realm by Jessica Catalan, and then an article on megafauna, and that's not just megafauna in the northern part of Galarian. It's really about megafauna all over the continent. And then there's the Adventure Toolbox, which includes new player rules, creatures, and NPCs. So, and you're the author of all of these. Yes. Well done. Congratulations. It looks amazing.
Thank you. It does look good.
It does look good. It looks good. There's sort of a mysterious valley in episode 2. I don't think that's really a spoiler.
Is. No, we can talk about that.
Yeah, so I guess I want people to think about what is it that, what inspiration did you draw upon in order to create this? and what inspiration might other players and GMs read or experience or watch in order to prepare themselves for this setting and this adventure? Do you have any things that you recall? Or I'm just terribly curious about your research for this this adventure. Can you tell us about that?
More research. So I'm going to give a bit of context on the book first, if you don't mind. So
Please
in
do.
Lost Mammoth Valley, you are playing as scouts who are members of a following in the realm of the Mammoth Lords called the Broken Tusks. And this following has been attacked, and they're currently on the run from a dangerous warband, the Burning Mammoths. So this is book 2 in a 3-part AP. It's for levels 4 to 8. And the crux of this is mostly that you've just kind of escaped, and you are following an old migratory route that your following hasn't used in ages. And it was really interesting to write this one because you have a quest, right? Like it's already known by partway through book 1 that you are on the quest for the Frozen Flame itself, obviously, like the title of the adventure path. But also, like, you're not just adventurers out trying to get some magical relic. You are leading your following, and you need to make sure you move them someplace safe. So it's both a lot of exploration and discovery, but while you're doing this, you're not just thinking about yourselves. You have to find a way to bring your whole following with you, right? And, from the beginning where we're trekking through a cave to try to find a safe route, straight through the whole valley that we're going to explore in this one, you have to consider, like, we have elderly, we have children, we have mammoth. Like, you can't just cram these things through a narrow crevice or take them someplace dangerous, right? Like, it's exploration, it's an escort mission, yes, and it is paying attention to all the other people that you have with you. And it's a lot of it is also making allies. Plenty of the things that you're gonna encounter in this valley are, you'll find animals, of course, you'll find dangers, you'll find people, but all of these things can be an enemy or can be an ally or can be a piece to something bigger, just depending how you take it. So it was really a fun challenge to make this one. And then in response to what kind of resources, so Realm of the Mammoth Lords is very strongly based, in general, the location on Paleolithic and Neolithic peoples of the past. But they're also animists primarily, which is still something you see, obviously, through lots of cultures today. And so a lot of that I drew on. I studied anthropology in university. So I did do lots of these kinds of things in university classes, right? I mean, we learn about Neolithic peoples and all kinds of ancient societies from all over the place. But I'm also Métis, and I took a lot of also classes growing in university and culture outside of school, of course. That touch on indigenous cultures and just different beliefs through other parts of the world as well. So I think I drew a lot mostly on things I've seen in my life, places I've learned about, all kind of, lots of research from all over the place. And also there's obviously lots of media you can look into.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I had no idea that was your background. So it's sort of this book is definitely in your wheelhouse. And thank you for sharing your knowledge. I did notice that that it uses some mechanics from the Pathfinder Game Mastery Guide. It looks like that's the leadership subsystem.
Yes.
And then includes a lot of hexploration and adventures with your basic sort of grid. So it's really you're juggling a lot of different things.
Yeah, so while you're exploring, you're going to be using the hexploration rules, obviously, which are introduced in the first book, and those are going to be used for you through the second book while you're exploring the valley system, but also in book 3, there's more hexploration in book 3 as well. So that should be a familiar system by now. And it's I see somebody say it's intimidating. It's not as intimidating as it sounds, I promise. But you're also going to be using the leadership system, and this is just mostly to track your following. You throughout, you don't need to, nitpick at little numbers or things, but it is just a measure of the size of your following throughout this book. So if you come across something and you happen to befriend a thing, whether it's a person or an animal or whatever you've added to your following, the only time you're really going to need to interact with the leadership system as a player is at some point. It might matter how large your following might be. Some groups might react differently if you're a small following, right? If you have small leadership. Whereas if you're a very large following and you're big and intimidating, so that's more a little bit in there. And then the last thing you're going to use in this one is influence, which you have chance to influence some people who live in the valley, but I don't want to get too much into that part because that gets more spoilery.
Great. Well, I just love to call out how we pull from the game mastery guide and these subsystems and work them into the adventure paths, and really it makes intuitive sense that you're going to want to use the leadership system to kind of track some of these things. It shouldn't be too intimidating, I think. Thank you. That's a great overview of what Volume 2 is about. I did the images that we showed are also chapter headers from the major sections of the Adventure Path volume. I wanted to particularly call out one of those images was the new Pine Leshy heritage that I think is super cool. I know we have a lot of Leshy fans, and this particular piece of art looks like sort of a pine treant or bonsai or something. I really love the art, so I wanted to point that out to our viewers because these adventure paths add so many new rules to the game that are useful to everyone, regardless of whether or not you're playing this particular adventure path. So
in the back matter for this one. Thanks. In the back matter for this one, you'll find the Leshy heritage. You'll also find new snares, alchemical items, some necromancy skills. Necromancy spells and some stuff like that, which was really fun to work on. And then the Religion of the Realms. Obviously, you'll find stat blocks for new, deities drawn from other parts of the setting that don't have full stat blocks yet. And you'll see some deities that are important to people in Realms of the Mammoth Lords, which was really, really fun to work on.
Great. Yeah, and then a whole list of new creatures and monsters, and I think it's 4 pages of items and magic items. So there's a lot of great content in the back of Volume 2. Well done. Alex, I think the main way that this intersects with organized play is through sanctioning. People can how does sanctioning work for adventures and adventure paths generally? Alex.
We make sure that the content and the themes are appropriate for what we deem public play. Basically, if you were going to sit down at a random table in a game store and the family next to you was overhearing what you were doing, would they be chill with it? Quest for the Frozen Flame is going to be fine on that front, by the way. But we look at that, we make sure everything there passes muster, and then we issue sanctioning documents, which are chronicle sheets that basically say, here's how to play the game, here's how to play it so that you get credit for your character, and then you get some credit and maybe some extra shiny items, access to some new stuff as a reward for playing the adventure path. So it's a way for you to play it if you've got a home group that you want to play with, or even you want to put together a group at your local game store and still get some credit for your Pathfinder Society characters. As far as our timeline, if people are looking, we usually try to get sanctioning out around the time that the final book of an AP gets released. So I think the 3rd book of Quest for the Frozen Flame is in the next couple months. So be on the lookout for that soon.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Let's move on to the next topic, which is going back to Book of the Dead and just asking Jessica, in what way did you write Book of the Dead? And I'm sort of assuming that you were heavily involved in the lore chapter, but I don't know that that's true. What can you tell us?
So on Book of the Dead, again, that's from before I was working here at Paizo, so I was doing it as a freelancer. There are lots of authors, obviously, who contributed to this book. Being on the cover just means I wrote a whole lot of words for it. So you will find me in all of the chapters except for the adventure. The adventure was just Jason Bowman, but I've done lore articles. I have done archetypes intended for living characters. I've done some of the undead archetypes. I have done all the haunts, and I have done a whole bunch of monsters in this book.
That's amazing. Yeah, many.
And if
many
I can say one thing about Jessica really quickly, I didn't know Jessica before she joined us at Paizo, but I remember very specifically the day that Linda announced that Jessica had been hired to join the organized play team. She said to the editorial staff, we've hired Jessica Catalan. You may know Jessica Catalan from sentences such as, oh, well, we still need this bit of the book, but it'll be fine. Jessica's writing it, so it'll come in perfectly. And that always just stuck with me as seeing her name on the cover now, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. She writes a ton for us and it's all really great. So that's just a detail that's always stuck with me since she was sort of first introduced to me and the rest of the company.
Thank you for that context. Yeah. Jessica, do you know how did they manage all of the sections that were written in Geb's voice? Is that one particular person, or did you all trade notes about who he should sound like? And did many people write him?
Yeah, so we were given an example of what Geb's voice sounds like when he's writing, and keeping in mind that he as a person also changes throughout the course of this book, right? Some of the beginning is more while he's alive, and later parts are later when he's undead. So we were given kind
less
of a
alive
bit of his voice. Yeah. And then we were writing, certain parts were flagged as this should be written in Geb's voice, this should be written, as just straight rules. And then it was really fun to get to try to take a look at, particularly for some lore articles, to take a look at not just how would I write about, for example, Ordelia, but how would I write about Ordelia when I'm Geb, who's a giant jerk? There's a very different frame of reference especially when you're talking about something like Ordelia, which is a neighborhood in Magmar, but it's also a ghost who's a good person generally, right? What would this guy think of her, right? Probably not really anything good. What a foolish waste of your afterlife, right? So it was really nice to get to dig into undead in lots of different ways, right? As things for fighting undead for them to fight, some goofy undead for you to fight, how to be undead, but also to look at all these places and just see how it would be from our perspective or an author's perspective, I suppose, and then also try to flip it on its head and consider, yeah, but what if I was and it was really interesting. I think a lot of people did a really great job pulling together his voice throughout the whole book. It's really entertaining to look at.
That's so interesting to know that so many people contributed to the final product, and to one character's voice. That seems like a feat, and I can't wait for people to read all about Geb, and not just the rules and the new archetypes and the new monsters, but really get understand the creative writing and the literature that went into the production of this book. So thank you for sharing that. Let's move on now to the topic of Starfinder Society.
Yes.
And talk about where we're at now, what's coming out this month, and then really, folks, what we've got is a very planned Paizo Live spoiler to talk about Starfinder Society the next year ahead. So we'll talk about what's going on now, and then we'll spend some time talking about what's ahead. Jessica, Linda talked about organized play and what it is, and in the first session of Paizo Live tonight, and Starfinder Society is its counterpart. and so we have new scenarios. We have a new overarching plot. Can you give the elevator, the summary version of what this year's mega plot is for Starfinder Society?
Yeah, so each year in the Starfinder Society, we have an overarching plot, which is our meta plot, and then we name our season after that year. Not all of our adventures each year will involve our meta plot, but some years are more involved than others. So we're currently in the middle of season 4 of the Starfinder Society, which is Year of the Data Scourge. So basically, this year began when a series of digital attacks ravaged infospheres and technology across the system. And then simultaneously, robots infiltrated and attacked Absalom Station and the Lorespire complex. So this was launched with number 4.1, Introduction to Year of the Data Scourge by Jenny Jarzabski. That's a levels 1 to 4 adventure. And then throughout this season, most of it has been spent with the Starfinders working to kind of solve the data scourge. So find out what the heck is going on, who is behind this, like what is coming, right? So by now, we are in number 414. So this is Rasheen's Remembrance, which is coming out this month. This one is not a part of our meta plot, but we're getting near the end of it. So the year is going to, this one. I'm going to talk about this one now. So we're releasing 414 Rasheen's Remembrance this month. This is by Marlon Butler, and it is for levels 7 to 10. So it's a high level one. So Rasheen's Remembrance is sending Starfinders on the trail of legendary explorer Jalev Rasheen. Rasheen is well known for her voyages at the dawn of drift travel. So she made regular trips into the drift, returning every few years with holds full of treasure from different worlds. And she mysteriously disappeared. But when she did, dozens of her alleged children and partners and adventuring companions, they all spread like this grand tale about Rasheen. Her last find was her very greatest one she ever had, her crowning achievement, and she was seen like at the fleet of commanding a fleet of like treasure-laden vessels and everything. So she's by now in the Starfinder. She's the subject of novels and holovids and TV shows, like a living, well, not living, a legend.
Yes.
And over the years, the Starfinder Society has investigated 2 of Rasheen's treasure beacons, which is kind of stuff she dropped along the way to mark her journey so she could come back and pick up her loot later. And so this adventure is delving into her 3rd site. So that is what this month's adventure is, and it's really exciting. Definitely different. I like it. And then that puts us next month. Next month we are doing number 415. That's Feuding Faiths by Scott D. Young for levels 5 to 8. And then that brings us to the finale already, 416, Hope for the Future by Jenny Jarzabski. That is the finale to season 4, levels 5 to 8.
Nice. All right. So that will wrap up this current year of Starfinder Society. And so May is the beginning of the next season, and with a new meta plot. What can we start to know about that at this point?
Yeah, so soon it will be launching season 5. Season 5 is going to be the year of Redemption's Rise. So in the aftermath of the data scourge, the Starfinder Society is not really in a good place. It is fracturing along faction lines. There is infighting and power grabs and just suspicion between agents. And this is kind of all threatening to tear the society apart. So our first seeker, Ahu Hadif, when faced with the past mistakes of the society and the grievances of active agents, kind of a weakening of external alliances going on, and, just some betrayals and some heinous crimes that have been committed by former Starfinders. Ahu just kind of surveys, the shambles he's got right now, and he decides to embark on a year of change. So Ahu Hadif is opening the floor to all agents. He gives them a platform to voice their concerns, their plans, and their ambitions, and to just lobby for change. So this year, new factions are founded, reforms are enacted, and, trust is kind of tentatively reforged. So this is where we're picking up at the year of Redemption's Rise. We are picking up when we're already trying to kind of mend bridges and move forward together. So, I mean, the Starfinder Society at the start of our year is not in a great place, but it is determined to make a change for the better, not only for themselves as an organization or for their also for their members as individuals, but also for just the galactic community that they're a part of. But the Starfinder's plans for a brighter future are not without opposition. So this year we are facing off against opportunistic criminals, internal corruption, and we will be uncovering clues involving a secretive criminal organization that has a centuries-old connection to the Starfinder Society. And this is what you can expect our meta plot for this year to focus on: the changes in the society and also the opposition to these changes that they're going to come across. So that's our basic premise for our upcoming year. Yeah.
Out of the ashes, out of the ashes of this year, they want to rise triumphant, but there's going to be conflict and organizations trying to stop them. Sounds like some politics. Right? It's never easy.
No, change isn't easy.
That's great.
No.
So this year there are 6 Starfinder Society scenarios that are going to directly influence our Year of Redemption's Rise meta plot. And while the remainder don't directly interact with the meta plot, they still touch a lot on this year's themes anyway. So this is a year of reconciliation, of redemption, of just trying to do good in a galaxy that has endured hard times and has not yet recovered. And I see people commenting, Drift Crisis, yes, bad times on the horizon. We've got plenty of chances to go out and be heroes and to make a difference. And that's what our Starfinder Society is aiming for this year. So the Year of Redemption Rise kicks off with Starfinder Society scenario number 5, number 1. Year of Redemption Rise, an adventure for levels 1 to 4 by Alex Fidel.
Wait, I know him.
Excellent.
You do know him. Alex's first foray into writing for the Starfinder Society, much to my shock. So it is very exciting to have him launch our first adventure.
I'm terrified.
You did great. This one's also pretty exciting because this year we are shining a spotlight on some of our society's minor factions, right? We're giving a platform to some groups that don't normally have one. So we are going to shine some spotlight on the already established Manifold Host faction. And we have 2 brand new factions, which we are name dropping today. That is the Advocate and the Cognate faction.
Excellent. Well, I happen to know that we'll be diving into more detail in the weeks and months ahead, kind of slowly revealing what all these new factions are about and what the new mega plot will be, so that we can all make up our new Starfinder characters and hit the ground running. When year 5 begins in May. Did I say that correctly? Year 5 begins in May?
Yes.
Excellent. So much to think about. This is great. And what I hear you saying is the drift. Now, our listeners and our chat know that the Starfinder rulebook that's coming out next is Drift Crisis, in which our version of hyperspace collapses in a mysterious way. So that plot line is going to be affecting all sorts of things in Starfinder, with adventures and adventure paths and one-shots and who knows, maybe some bounties. And I'm sure it will touch Starfinder Society as well, but it's not the core premise of what you have planned, is what I hear you saying. It's one of the many obstacles. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
this
great.
year is not Year of the Drift Crisis for the Starfinder Society. It is the Drift Crisis is touching all of our different Starfinder lines, but our year is not focused on the Drift Crisis. We can, though. You can expect there will be 3 Drift Crisis scenarios, though, throughout the year. We've got a high level, a mid level, and a low level. Some of those are already out being written. Very exciting.
Right.
So we will definitely have the Drift Crisis.
That puts it in
one of
society.
Yeah, one of the things that we've discovered sort of Yeah, one of the things we've discovered sort of throughout doing org play is that, if we sort of go all in on the same things that like the rulebook line is doing or whatever, then we get a problem kind of like the Year of the Demon way back from Pathfinder Society First Edition, where everyone just has so much of the same content being thrown at them all at once. So while we could go full in on, Year of the Drift Crisis, if you're not into the Drift Crisis, we're not going to have a whole lot for you. So this, especially with what Jessica's got planned, this is, a way for you to have some other stories going on as well, in addition to kind of that meta story that the Starfinder team is telling with the Drift Crisis. And I'm really excited about what Jessica has planned. It's fun. I know things, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's segue into conventions now. And Alex, let's just touch base about what we know so far. I know that we've posted a blog. We might go in reverse order a little bit, because we've posted a blog about Gen Con. Gen Con has such a big lead time with housing and everything that we needed to make sure that we let everybody know. What can you tell folks about Gen Con and organized play at this point?
Yeah. I'm gonna start this out kind of by saying that there are things that I want to say that I have been told I'm not allowed to say on stream yet. So what I will say is I'm going to talk about Gen Con right now, and anyone who wants to know anything about other conventions should just listen real closely and take notes. So Gen Con is, read the tea leaves as you will. Gen Con is at the beginning of August 4th through 7th this year. I have a big calendar above my computer screen. We will be both at the physical show in Indianapolis, running some games out of the Sagamore Ballroom there, as we have in years past, as well as supporting their online event as well. So everything that is releasing at the physical show in Indianapolis will also be playable online that very same weekend, including our brand new Pathfinder special, which I'm not allowed to say anything more about at this time. But everything, you'll be able to do everything at either. So if you're comfortable going to the physical show, if you can make it there, you'll be able to do things there. If you're not comfortable traveling yet, or you live in Europe or Australia and that's a bit of a hike for you, you can participate in the online show just as easily. But yeah, like you said, we had to get that information out so people knew about what was going on for the housing lottery and stuff like that. In the upcoming weeks, I'll be working with our Gen Con organizing committee to get information out about recruiting GMs for both the physical and online show, because it only runs if we have a whole cohort of GMs there to run things with us.
Indeed. And it sounds like GMs will have sort of their option of running things online or running things in person. So they can
go
absolutely.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be recruiting GMs for both, of course. And, if you're crazy enough that you want to, run an online game out of your hotel room in Indianapolis, you might be able to. I don't recommend it, because we can't make any promises about the hotel Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
But, theoretically, it's an option. But yeah, so yeah, we'll be soliciting GMs for both at about the same time. And we'll have more information on that for you in the coming weeks. We're working, like I say, I'm working with the organizing committees right now to kind of get some of those dates nailed down and that information nailed down before we get it out to y'all. I know people have been asking me ever since we said we were going to be at Gen Con, hey, how do I sign up to GM? How do I get in on that? I promise I will be incredibly obnoxious about it when you can. It's just not quite ready yet.
Yeah, we're almost there. So
almost there.
I'll be heading up the seminar portion of Gen Con. I'll be coordinating the guests, the seminars. We're going to do that a lot like we have done in the last 2 years. It's going to be a lot of participation from people are going to be able to participate from their homes. Staff members are going to be able to be on seminars from their homes. People will be able to attend our virtual Gen Con seminars from wherever they are. Yeah, there might be the thing I'm going to have to work out is if someone is physically attending Gen Con, how do they participate in one of my seminars? But just to let everybody know that we're doing both. We'll both be physically there and virtually there, and that's the plan for Gen Con.
Yes, that is the plan for Gen Con. And one of the most important thing for us as we're planning these and having these conventions is the staff's comfort and safety. We know that there are people on the staff who aren't comfortable traveling to these large events, yet we know there are people who don't want to be doing that, and so we're making sure that they're still included, that they can still be doing things. So I think a lot of our streams and our big product releases and everything like that and announcements are probably going to happen more online so that everyone has access to them and everyone can be involved with them. And so any physical events will really be focused on just the people who are there physically and having that experience there.
Indeed. I think that's all we're going to say for now. We're running a little longer than I wanted to,
yes.
But we can do some Paizo Live spoilers now. Really, Jessica has just spoiled given us spoilers for the entire Starfinder Society
Absolutely,
season.
yeah.
So thank you very much. Your work here is done. But of course, we'll have you back soon to tell us even more. But Alex, what kind of Paizo Live spoiler might you have?
Yes, you know what? I've decided that I have 2 Paizo Live spoilers. Actually, Aaron, I told you that I was going to have one, and I fibbed to you a little bit. My first Paizo Live spoiler is, for anyone who's looking for information on any other conventions that may be happening, you should watch the blog next week. That's number 1. My second Paizo Live spoiler, I've actually been wearing this whole time, Aaron, because you see, I have this lovely little pin on, which people may or may not have clocked. It's a little pin of the Paizo Organized Play logo. I think it's lovely, and I think that we should make a bunch of these and sell them to our wonderful players who enjoy pins. But I think we should do more than that, because I also have here our factory firsts, I guess, of our Pathfinder Society 2nd edition faction pins. I'm trying to get them all on screen. They're on a Starfinder lanyard. My apologies. It's all I had in my house. But we have these. We've been working with
Pathfinder 2nd edition. Okay.
Yes, exactly. We've been working with campaign coins on these. You can throw their logo up now if you like. But we've been working with them on these for probably, I don't know, close to 18 months at this point, honestly, just going back and forth with them on sizing and colors and making sure that everything works and is the correct size. They've all got 2 pin backs on each of them so they don't like spin around on your lanyards. But we're finally happy with them. We're finally ready to get them out to you. And we're hoping to have them out by the end of May. So my hope is that we'll be able to bring a couple boxes with us to Gen Con or to any other conventions that we might be out. Yes, I say the end of May. For no particular reason. But yeah, they're gorgeous. I mean, they're beautiful. I've got them here. But yeah, so we'll have these. We'll have the Paizo Organized Play pin as well. And they're great. And what I've just realized, of course, as Jessica is talking about these, is that if we have new factions for Starfinder, I'm going to have to figure out how to make them pins too. So no promises on that, but I have an email to send on Tuesday, I guess.
That's great. Thank you so much, Alex. Chat is just going wild seeing all those pins, and there's much celebration and rejoicing. They look great, and we can't wait to decorate our lanyards with them again soon.
Yes, they're real great.
Yeah. So I'm building into the schedule for future Paizo Lives a little bit of time to talk about upcoming conventions for the foreseeable future. So stay tuned. The next, oh gosh, I think I have it. Oh, good, I do. The date for the next Paizo Live. The date for the next Paizo Live should be March 24th for Paizo Live number 10. So
That's
set your calendars. Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's without changing my screens and checking my calendar. It's the Friday before Street Day.
25th then. Great. Be there.
Yes, I must have mistyped in my notes. So thank you for catching that, Alex.
Again, big calendar right above my monitor is very helpful when I'm planning events.
Bless you. Thank you. No, now that I see it, the notes are completely wrong. But make sure that you set your calendars for the final Friday in March so that we can give you more updates about the products that are coming and have organized playback and talk more about conventions. So I'm going to say thank you to my guests, Jessica and Alex. Thanks for joining us. And
thank you.
And we'll have you back soon. And it's just time to say goodbye to everyone else. please thank you for joining us on Paizo Live and chatting with us on Twitch and asking the questions that you did. I know everyone wants to hear more about Pathfinder Book of the Dead, but believe me, we'll be featuring that for the next 2 or 3 months and beyond. So for now, thank you very much, and we'll see you in late March. Until then, adventures ahead.